What if I told you that the secret to surviving and thriving in some of the world's most dangerous environments didn't lie in technology or modern advancements, but in hidden science passed down through generations? Tribes from every corner of the globe have lived for centuries in some of the harshest climates on Earth, using knowledge that modern science is just beginning to understand. These tribes didn't just survive, they flourished, mastering the environments that many of us today would consider impossible to live in. Whether in the scorching heat of the desert, the freezing cold of the tundra, or the dense jungles of the Amazon, these ancient cultures tapped into the hidden forces of nature to build civilizations that lasted for generations. But what were these secrets? What hidden science allowed these tribes to adapt, live sustainably, and thrive without the tools and technologies we rely on today? In this video, we're going to explore the hidden science that allowed tribes to not just survive, but to master their environments. From understanding water cycles and natural remedies to using ecosystem intelligence to create food systems, these tribes had a deeper connection to the land than we could ever imagine. And what's more incredible, many of these techniques are not only still effective today, but they might hold the key to our future survival as we face growing environmental challenges. Join me as we uncover the scientific wisdom that allowed these tribes to live for centuries, and why it's time for us to pay attention to what they knew all along. For centuries, tribes around the world have lived in some of the harshest environments on Earth, places where survival seems like an impossible task. From the burning heat of the desert to the freezing cold of the Arctic, these ancient cultures have not only survived, they've thrived. But how? The answer lies in something much more profound than what modern science often recognizes: hidden science. The secret is that these tribes had an innate understanding of nature. They didn't just exist alongside the environment. They were deeply in tune with it. They read the landscape like an open book, understanding the water cycles, animal behavior, and weather patterns better than we ever thought possible. They mastered the forces of nature that seem impossible to control, like winds, floods, and droughts, and built civilizations that lasted for centuries. One of the most amazing aspects of their survival knowledge is the simplicity of it. They didn't rely on complex technology. Instead, they used natural materials and their intimate knowledge of the land to create sustainable systems that modern science is now rediscovering. They built systems for water conservation, food production, and even medicine, all based on the scientific principles of the environment they lived in. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden science that allowed these tribes to thrive in the wild. From advanced agricultural techniques to ecological balance, these tribes had a deep understanding of the world that we're just beginning to appreciate. Their knowledge of natural remedies, ecosystem management, and sustainable living may be the key to not just surviving, but thriving in today's rapidly changing world. While these tribes thrived in some of the world's most challenging environments, modern society often dismisses their knowledge as primitive or unscientific. The world today is more focused on high-tech solutions and industrialization, leaving behind the ancient practices that allowed tribes to live in harmony with nature for centuries. But could we be missing the point? Modern civilization faces growing environmental challenges, from climate change and resource depletion to pollution and global health crises. So, why aren't we turning to the hidden science of these tribes? What if their simple, sustainable practices, using nature's forces to create thriving ecosystems and societies, hold the key to solving today's biggest problems? The conflict lies in our disconnect from nature. We've become so reliant on artificial technologies and quick fixes that we've lost touch with the natural systems that can provide long-term solutions. But the wisdom of these tribes, passed down over generations, might offer the missing pieces we need. Whether it's using the sun for energy, understanding ecosystem cycles, or reclaiming natural resources, these ancient survival techniques might be our greatest hope in preserving the future. As we begin to appreciate the hidden science of these ancient tribes, we realize that their survival strategies weren't just about brute force or luck. They were the result of deep, long-term wisdom that connected them to the earth in a way that we've lost in our modern, technology-driven world. What these tribes understood was that nature isn't something to be conquered, but something to be worked with, respected, and leveraged. In the Amazon jungle, for example, tribes used their extensive knowledge of plant life to not only sustain their diets but also to create powerful medicines. They didn't rely on the synthetic chemicals we now produce. They had mastered the pharmacological properties of the flora around them, using it to treat illnesses and enhance health. This wasn't just trial and error. It was scientific observation over generations, fine-tuning their understanding of the world's natural remedies. In the harsh climates of the Arctic, these tribes used insulating techniques that modern architecture is only beginning to incorporate into sustainable building designs. They didn't need synthetic materials or advanced technology. Snow and ice were their building blocks, their natural insulation creating homes that stayed warm in temperatures that would have frozen modern buildings in minutes. These tribes didn't just survive the elements, they understood them at a scientific level. By observing the cycles of the moon, the behavior of animals, and the flow of water, they were able to predict weather patterns and adjust their lives accordingly. It wasn't luck that kept them alive. It was their ability to read and adapt to the natural forces around them, something modern society has largely forgotten. But here's the twist. This ancient wisdom isn't lost. It's simply been overshadowed by modern advancements that often ignore the very systems nature has in place. Today, we're beginning to realize that the hidden science of these tribes could be our last hope to survive the challenges we face with climate change, resource depletion, and the environmental collapse happening around the world. So, how do we reclaim this knowledge and use it in the 21st century? Let's dive deeper. As we look back on the hidden science that allowed these tribes to not just survive but thrive, it's clear that the ancient knowledge they passed down wasn't just primitive wisdom. It was sophisticated, innovative, and deeply scientific. The world may have forgotten the secrets they unlocked, but now, as we face climate change, resource depletion, and the growing threat of environmental collapse, we are finally starting to see how relevant this knowledge is today. The twist? The solutions to our modern challenges may have been right under our noses all along. The water conservation systems, the wind and solar power techniques, the herbal medicines, these were not mere survival tactics. They were scientifically informed practices that enabled tribes to build sustainable civilizations in some of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. But here's the catch. Modern society is still stuck in its pursuit of complex, high-tech solutions that often create more problems than they solve. What if, instead of reinventing the wheel, we looked back to the forgotten wisdom of these ancient tribes to reclaim the solutions that nature has already given us? We don't need to turn to high-tech innovations when the natural world has been offering the answers for centuries. It's time for us to reconnect with nature and use the science these tribes already knew to build a sustainable future. Imagine a world where we rely on ecological wisdom, harness solar and wind energy, and conserve the very resources that support our planet. This could be the beginning of a new era, one where humanity and nature work together, just like our ancestors did. Comment below on how you think we can apply these ancient survival techniques to modern problems. Subscribe to the channel for more stories of forgotten knowledge and ancient survival wisdom.